What's up, chicklets? How are y'all doing today? You guys asked for it, so today you're getting it. Today, we're talking about camera gear. Hey guys, my name's James.
And I'm Ashley.
Last year, we sold our house and we're traveling across the country with our kids.
Hi, my name's Goose, and this is Maverick. Come join us!
First off, before we get going, I want to let you know that all of this gear will be linked up down below in the description or right up there in the iCard if you guys are interested in checking anything out. Shopping on Amazon via that link is a great way to support us, so thank you so much for doing that. But without any further ado, let's jump right into it, and let's start with probably the easiest entry-level kind of equipment you need for starting vlogging, doing travel videos, of anything like that. That would be your basic point-and-shoot camera. As you can see, mine has seen better days. I've got duct tape holding it together. I actually ordered a couple screws that I need to fix this because my little flip screen on the back is going out. But for years, this was my go-to camera for all of my vlogs. Before we even started traveling, this was my choice because the video quality on this is amazing. The capabilities of this camera are phenomenal. This is the RX100 Mark V, but this little camera allows you to do all sorts of things, like filming at a high frame rate, which allows you to do that slow motion, smooth look. It also shoots at 4K if you're interested in that. Now, the main problem with all of these point-and-shoot cameras, at least 99% of them, is they don't have the ability to add an external microphone. And for vlogging, that is huge. Audio is half the battle. If you guys can't hear me, you have no idea what I'm saying, and it's pointless. And now you may be wondering, what's the point of an external mic versus an internal mic? Basically, it helps with the directional quality of it. These mics on here pick up audio from all sorts. So if there's a loud crowd behind you, or say an ocean, or an air conditioning unit behind you, you're gonna hear that just as much as you hear my voice. With the mic I'm filming on right now, it points in the direction you want the audio to pick up. So the audio is 80% me, 20% the rest behind you. The other benefit of external mics is you can get things called dead cats, which help eliminate wind noise. I'm sure you've heard it where the wind's blowing and it's just noisy, loud, and it's hard to hear what the person's saying. There are things on the point and shoots you can do to help minimize that. Like you might see on here, see these little fuzzy things on top? That's not actually duct tape. Those are my little mini dead cats. But as you will see when I come and talk about the camera you guys are on, I have an external mic on here with a big dead cat that eliminates all that wind noise. Now, I will be honest, this is one of the pricier point-and-shoot cameras out there. This will cost you about $1,000. But before you freak out about that price point, if that is too steep for you, don't worry. There are much more affordable options out there, as cheap as like $100. I would probably say for a decent quality one, you're gonna wanna spend around $200, but that is a great entry-level camera to get into filmmaking and vlogging on the road. And that actually leads me to my next point. If money is an issue and you guys wanna start filmmaking right now, this is probably the most overlooked tool that anybody has for filmmaking. Even though I have all this gear, I still use my cell phone probably in every single vlog that we put up. The iPhone shoots in 4K, the iPhone shoots in slow motion, it has a digital zoom, it has all the little features that you need. In fact, I know channels that started filming on their phone and grew successful and created high quality content using nothing but their phone for filming and editing and uploading. They did everything on their phone. So if money is an issue, I bet you that with what you have in your pocket right now, you could create a successful YouTube channel. Now, all this makes it a little bit easier and allows you to do things that your phone won't, but don't overlook smartphones. They are amazing these days. Like, honestly, what you can do with this compared to even a few years ago is incredible. All right, next up is another camera, and this is probably the camera that is one of the most popular cameras out there, GoPro. Now, this is the GoPro Hero 4. They're already up to a version 7 now. There are a lot of new features on the 7 that are amazing, such as the stabilization and whatnot, but I still love my GoPro Hero 4. I still use it for a lot of time lapses. I have all sorts of mounts for it, like this one that clamps onto things. It's called like the rifle mount, so I clamp it onto all sorts of things if I want to get weird angles. I have a suction cup mount as well. The suction cup mount is probably my most used tool. Anytime you guys see time lapses on the car, whether it be like on the roof or facing out the front window, that's usually done with the suction cup. Now, there is a mount for the GoPros that I really want to get. It's one of those clamp flexible things. Here, I'll show you a picture of it right here. I have yet to order this, but the flexibility and ease of use of this thing would be great for getting various angles and time lapses with this. One of the other benefits of the new GoPro is it has the weatherproofing, so you don't need this giant plastic box to keep it safe out in the weather. So that is one of the downsides of the older GoPros, but the benefit is you can probably pick these up on Craigslist for less than $100. All right, and last camera that we have is actually what I'm filming on right now. So let me set up one of these other cameras and I'll show you what you guys are being filmed on. All right, you guys can probably tell a little difference in the audio quality because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not using my directional mic, my external mic. This is the internal quality of the point and shoot. Now in here, it's not too bad, but if I was outside in a noisy room or if the air conditioning was on, it'd be much more noticeable. So this is my little external mic. You guys might have seen me talk about it briefly in the previous video. And actually the mic I talked about in the previous video, I already returned because I did not like the Video Mic Go. This is the Video Micro, and I love this little mic. It's great. But I actually just ordered a brand new mic called the Deity V3 Pro, I believe it is. So I can't really tell you for sure what the quality of that is, but from all the reviews and tests I've seen, that mic is amazing. So maybe I'll talk about it later when I get it. It's currently in the mail. So this is my Video Micro. This is the external mic I've used for years. Highly suggest it. It's affordable, it's batteryless, so you never have to worry about your battery dying, flipping it on and off. It's always on. It's a great, affordable option for an external mic. Here is my DSLR camera that I have had for years. It is the EOS 70D, the Canon 70D. It's got a full flip out screen that articulates in all different angles. This is huge for vlogging. You want to make sure you have that articulating screen because it allows you to hold your camera out and frame your shot and see exactly where you're at versus just guessing where your camera is pointed. Now, to be honest, this 70D is kind of dated. Like I said, it's a few years old that I've had it, and even before then, it had been out for about a year or so. So technology-wise, this actually isn't the greatest. But the reason I use it more so than what I'm filming on right now, like I said, is because of this external mic capability. It's that huge. This does not shoot in 4K. That one does. This does not shoot at 120 frames a second. That one does, which basically means slow motion. So this does not have near as many of the features as the one I'm filming on right now, but that external mic makes all the difference in the world. That being said, since this camera is so old, they do make more affordable, higher quality DSLRs that do shoot at 120 frames a second, that do shoot in 4K. So if you are looking at getting a DSLR camera, I do not actually suggest getting the 70D. I have put together a little list, it'll be linked up down below, of the 3 cameras that I suggest you look at. Their price ranges from cheap to a little bit more expensive depending on what your budget is, but those would be the 3 cameras I would look at getting. A few of the things I would make sure that your camera does have is an external mic. Number 1, make sure it has that so you can plug in your external microphone. That's the biggest. Number 2, the articulating screen. For me, number 3 is the slow motion high frame rate capabilities. Number 4, being able to shoot 4K. And then 5, if you can get one with optical stabilization built into the sensor, that is huge. All right, now that you guys have seen my camera, I'm gonna pop it back up there and continue with this mic. Now the downside of switching to a DSLR like this or any camera with interchangeable lenses is the price point becomes much steeper and greater because you start doing things like getting other lenses that allow you to do a variety of different things. The one I'm filming on right now is probably one of my main go-tos because it's so wide. You guys are only an arm's reach away from me, but you can see a wide spectrum. That's what wide glass is it's a wide angle of view. So I can come up really close, or like when I'm holding you guys in my hand and it still looks really good. And then it zooms from 10 millimeters into 18 millimeters. So as you can see, it changes a little bit, but not a whole lot. This is my 18 to 135. So 18 is this right here. That is 18 millimeters. So this camera goes from what you guys are right now, but then you can zoom all the way up to 135 millimeters. And that's how I get those close-up shots of whether it be wildlife or the kids playing, or like maybe the close-up of Maverick's little feet running in slow motion. That's how I get that, is by switching out to one of these lenses. The downside is I have to carry around 2 lenses because they do have things called super zoom lenses. This is close to being one of those that allow you to have a wide range from really far in to really wide. But getting something like a 10 millimeter all the way up to something like 135, that can be really, really expensive. I think they do make it, but it's not in my budget. So for me, even though it's more of a pain in the butt, it just made more sense to have two lenses. One for my long zooms and the one for my close-up vlogging. Then because of that, I have to carry this around everywhere. I get a little portable case like this that's got little foam liners in it and just a little pull tie string at the top with a little metal clip so I can clip it on the backpack. I can shove it in a backpack, I can clip it on my belt, whatever. And this allows me to carry this around with me. It's not the most fun, and it adds more weight to hikes and whatnot, but it's how I get those pretty shots. I do have other lenses, like this is my Tamron. It's really good in low light, but it's noisy, so I honestly don't use it that much because it ruins a lot of your audio quality. So my two main lenses I use are my Canon EFS 10-18 that I'm filming on right now, and then this one right here, which is my Canon 18-135. So now if you look on the front of this lens here, you can see all sorts of little information. I'm just gonna give you a quick overview of what that means. The EFS is the type of mount. So my specific camera is an EFS mount. I can take those kind of lenses, which basically means what this back part here looks like when it attaches to the camera. There are all sorts of different lenses out there for different cameras, so you got to make sure you're buying it for the correct one. And then it has the 18-135. That tells you your focal length of your camera, your focal range. This one can get as wide as 18 and can zoom in as far as 135. And then you see that 3.5 to 5.6. That is your f-stop. That basically means how much light it allows into your camera. You want that number to be as low as possible because the lower that number is, the better it is in low light situations. And with vlogging and filming on the road, you don't have control of your light, so you want your camera to work well in low light. Especially if you're gonna be doing things like shooting in slow motion, then you need even more light bringing that in. So the downside of that is the lower that number is, the more expensive the lens is, which is why this one isn't that low. 3.5 is kind of like, 3.5 to 4.5 is kind of like your standard f-stop for your most basic mid-range lenses. If you can get that down to like 1.8, that's great. And then you have the IS, which means image stabilization. And then, like I said earlier, the one I'm filming on right now is a 10-18, and then its f-stop is 4.5 to 5.6. Enough about lenses. I didn't want to get too deep on that. If you guys have any more questions on that, leave a comment down below, but I want to try and get through all this gear before this video turns into a half-an-hour long video. Let's talk about drones. There are so many drones on the market these days, and they keep putting out more and more new ones, better and better, smaller and smaller. But I would say if you want a safe, reliable, high-quality drone, you cannot go wrong with DJI. DJI has been making drones for years. I've had their Phantom 4, I've flown a variety of their drones, and now I currently have the DJI Mavic Pro. Now this is not the newest Mavic that they have. They have a Mavic Pro 2. They actually have two different models of that. They are great drones as well, but again, I am on a budget, and this one just made the most sense for me because I got this for a third the cost of the brand new Mavic 2 because it was used off of Craigslist. Craigslist is a great resource for getting camera gear because there are thousands of people out there that think they're gonna fly drones, think they're gonna use their GoPros, and then they end up not, and it just sits on their shelf for 6 months or a year, and then they finally decide to sell it. I bought this at the perfect time because I got it right after the Mavic 2 came out, so everybody was trying to get rid of their original Mavics so they could spend more money on the brand new Mavic. Now don't get me wrong, the new Mavic is great. It's got things like an optical zoom and all sorts of new features that this one doesn't, but the quality of the image, the size and portability is almost the same. Now if you do end up looking for a DJI drone on Craigslist or eBay or something like that, make sure you don't get confused between the Mavic Pro, the Mavic Air, and the DJI Spark. Both the Spark and the Air are not going to have the same camera quality and video quality as the Mavic Pro or the brand new Mavic 2s out there. So I would not suggest getting either of those, even though they will be cheaper. I think that this is a great mid-ground drone that gets you high quality footage without breaking the bank. Okay, that pretty much covers all of the cameras that I use. We got the phones, the point and shoots, the GoPros, the DSLRs, the drones. Now let's talk about stabilization or tripods. There are two main things I use. One is currently the tripod you guys are sitting on. It's your simple, low budget, cheap photography tripod. It does not have a fluid head on it, which basically means I can't get those smooth panning motions. But when I'm using the tripod, it's honestly always locked down like it is right now. So I simply use it for this, holding still, talking to you guys. My main mount is this. This is a GorillaPod by Joby. These things were made popular and I think infamous by people like Casey Neistat. Now there are, sorry I had to go and get these. Now there are a variety of GorillaPods out there. They make, I believe, a 1K, a 3K, and a 6K, 7K. I don't know what, they're all rated by Ks. I honestly can't remember which K it is, but basically there's small, medium, and large. This is your medium one. These are perfect for things like your point and shoots or really small DSLRs. Once you get something to a little bit bigger like what I'm filming on right now, this 70D or any of the 5Ds or any of the bigger DSLR cameras out there, you're gonna wanna upgrade to the large one. This allows you to have bigger lenses on it, things like external cameras, all which add weight, which if you put that much weight on this little one, it just bends. And you do need to know that these will not last forever, hence why I have 2, 3 of them. I went through the little ones pretty quickly once I upgraded to my DSLR because they just get worn out and they start to get weak, and then when your camera's sitting on here, it just bends and tips over. So if you have something larger than your basic point and shoot or a GoPro, I highly suggest getting the large one. It is more expensive, but it'll last you longer and it'll just work better. The second piece you need to know is that the GorillaPods are sold in pieces. You can buy a package piece that has everything you need, or you can buy them individually. If you look at these, you see how there's a top, a head on this one, which this little knob that allows you to like then loosen and rotate the camera around. They don't ship with that. They ship like this with just a basic screw. So this headpiece that comes off is sold separately, and this is a must. If you're gonna get a GorillaPod of some sort, you need a ball head on it, which then allows you to articulate your head on top. And the reason this head is so important is because when you set up your camera with a basic one without a head, you can see that it's crooked and there's no way to level it out unless you bend your legs perfectly and get it flat. But like this, I could have it be super crooked at an angle like this and then loosen my head and level it out so it's perfectly flat. It allows you to get weird angles strapped onto a tree or something like that, but then pivot the camera to the correct angle that you want it to be at. And trust me, it is worth the extra cost to get these heads. It's almost worthless without it. Not quite, but almost. All right, last thing I wanted to mention and cover is editing. What do I do my editing on? I have a 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old MacBook Pro that wasn't even the newest one when I got it, but I love it. The Mac, I used to be so anti-Mac, it's not even funny. Now I have an iPhone and a Apple Macintosh, but they just work. They're expensive, they're overpriced, but they just work. So I love my MacBook. I highly suggest it. I probably won't switch back to PC anytime soon. For doing creative stuff like this, the Apples just work. The software I use is Adobe Premiere Pro. I do also have access to Photoshop and After Effects and the whole entire Adobe suite. I've been an Adobe fanboy and Adobe user since I was in college, which is longer ago than I want to admit, but Adobe has been great for years. Now there are many more options out there now than there used to be, such as you can use DaVinci, you can use, simple basic things like iMovie. Now if you're just getting started, you don't need to drop the cost on it because it is not cheap, to be honest. For the entire suite, I think it's something like $60 a month, so it adds up quick. You can use things like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker that come for free on your computers. Those softwares will work great. Or like I said, I know people that have edited their vlogs on their phone. They've shot and edited, added music and transitions, titles, everything on their phone. It blows my mind at the quality of work you can do on your phone. So don't feel like you have to buy the really expensive software, really expensive computers, because you don't. Last thing I want to mention is hard drives. I do have a couple external hard drives, just your basic USB 3.0 hard drives that allow me to store my data, because your hard drive doing video will fill up quick on your laptop. and these are just so inexpensive and so nice. I can edit right off the drive using 3.0. I don't need to transfer the footage to my local hard drive, so these work great. I do also have a big Drobo RAID drive that I kind of back everything up onto, but for the most part I don't touch it unless I'm doing some sort of backup. But honestly, nowadays I rarely touch my RAID drive. My Drobo is down below underneath me, so it's kind of a pain to get to. These are much smaller and more convenient, so this is what I use most of the time, and then when I want to back stuff up, I use that Drobo drive. All right, I think that pretty much does it for all my gear. If I missed anything, let me know down below in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. And like I said at the beginning, all of this is linked up either in the iCards or down below. And until next time, guys, remember, stay positive, get out there. Life is an adventure, so make some memories.